Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. I'm back with my afterthoughts on season 8 episode 2 of Game of Thrones. I have so much to cover, so I'm just gonna jump right into it. Let's just dive right in. So last night's episode was very emotional for me. Of course, I feel like all of these episodes are getting more and more emotional the further we go. And we all know that next episode is going to be just Game of Thrones just ripping our hearts out. This episode, it seemed like not a lot was happening, but so much was happening. So I'm just going to go through and hit some key points and give my thoughts, and we'll just go from there. So, all the bonding moments. I think this was huge. So we had Jaime and Brienne. We had so many sweet bonding moments and just sweet moments between Jaime and Brienne this episode. So when the show first opens up with that first scene with Jaime in the hall facing Daenerys and Sansa, and you know, they're both saying how we can't trust him, yada, yada, yada. And Brienne stands up and vouches for him. I was so glad that she stood up to vouch for him, because it was kind of like her returning that favor of when he stood up and defended her when they was out on the road together. And this was like her moment to return that same favor. I love that moment with them. I was so glad that she stood up to vouch for him. And also when he was staring at her from up top on the landing when he was with Tyrion, he turns away from Tyrion at a point in that scene, and he's staring out into the field, and he's looking at Brienne, and then he goes down there and he talks to her. They exchange words the way they do, classic Jaime and Brienne fashion. But she was just like, what's going on here? She was wondering why he hasn't insulted her yet. And he was like, do you want me to insult you? And she was like, no. And he was like, good. And it was just so wonderful to see that back and forth interaction with them. I miss the two of them together. I feel like Brienne brings out the best in Jaime. And she played, I don't want to use her in the past tense, she plays a huge role in Jaime's redemption arc. Also, the moment between Brienne and Jaime when Jaime knights Brienne, when they're all in that room together and he knights her. I just felt it was such a special moment, and even more so that it was Jaime being the one to do it. And to see Brienne get so emotional about it, it's been a long time since we've seen her that emotional. And I don't know if I've ever seen her cry. Maybe when Renly died. It was just so great to see. Earlier in the episode, I just thought about this when he said that he wanted to fight by her side. I just think that, you know, Jaime is going to die. But he said that he wanted to die in the arms of the woman that he loves. And I need that woman to be Brienne. If he falls on the battlefield, I need her to be by his side, and I need him to go in her arms. We need all these bonding moments, because this may be the last time that we ever see these characters interact with each other. Also, Tyrion and Jaime, with the brotherly love, just walking and talking and reminiscing and cracking jokes like brothers do. It was so great to see them in each other's presence like that, just as brothers. No bickering, no conflict between the two of them, just Jaime and fucking Tyrion as brothers. It was so, oh my God, I can't even form the words to explain how great it was to see the two of them together like that, just together as family, as brothers. We all know that Jaime and Tyrion have a special bond, and I loved when Tyrion spoke up to speak in defense of his brother against Dany, when they were all in the hall and Jaime was facing Dany and Sansa, and he spoke up to defend his brother. I respected him so much for standing up for his brother. At the end of the day, that is his brother, Jamie's his brother, and that is his family, and this is what people do for family. You're supposed to defend your family. And I don't think that Tyrion is deliberately trying to sabotage or betray Daenerys. And I feel like any speculation or suspicions that we had about Tyrion possibly being a traitor and betraying Dany can basically be laid to rest. I feel like he's still on Dany's side. I don't think that he will betray her. There was some suspicion at the end of season 7 after he had that conversation with Cersei that we didn't get to hear the whole conversation, but I feel like they pretty much answered that because Jaime admitted that he got food, and Tyrion was talking to his brother about the whole situation and was like, you know, she fooled me, and I believed her, and was she lying about the baby as well? So I pretty much believe that any suspicions we had about Tyrion being a traitor to Daenerys can be laid to rest. I don't think that he's going to betray her. Also, Tormund and Brienne. Tormund was hilarious, as always when it comes to Brienne. When he first shows up to Winterfell and he's like, is the big woman here? I was dying. Oh my God. You have to go watch my reaction video if you haven't watched it already. Go to my channel and find my reaction to episode 2 of Game of Thrones. I was cracking up so much. It was so freaking funny because why not? We might die tomorrow. We might not be here tomorrow. Where's the big woman? Where's Brienne? Because maybe I can get with her before I die. Can't hurt to try. And when they was inside the hall, all of them drinking, Jaime, Podrick, Brienne, Tormund, and he approached them and was like, this might be our last night together. I was like, shoot your shot, Tormund. Listen, what we got to lose? We all about to fucking die. What do we have to lose? I ain't mad at him. Shoot your shot. Shoot your shot. We all know Brienne don't feel that way about him. She pretty much detests him. She doesn't like him. And we all know that she has feelings for Jaime. But go ahead, Tormund. Shoot your shot. It was so freaking funny. In the way he stood up and clapped for her after she got knighted by Jaime. I mean, he's her biggest fan. Listen, she might not like him, but he is her biggest fan. I appreciate it. I appreciate it, Tormund. Gotta love him for that. The little bonding moments between Tormund and Brienne and Jaime and Tyrion and Jaime were fucking special. And the scene with, you know, the moments with all of them in that hall drinking and laughing. So we have Jaime, Tyrion, Podrick, Brienne, Davos, and Tormund just all gathered around, swapping stories, laughing, just trying to ease the tension of their impending doom. Because, you know, we might all die. Why not get drunk tonight? Drinking what may be their last drink. I feel like this was like everyone's last time together. This is the last time we're ever going to see these people alive all together. And like I said earlier, there wasn't much action, but there was a lot happening in this episode. Even with the lack of intensity. There was intensity, but a different level of intensity. Even without sword wielding type of action, I was still fucking anxious and nervous this entire episode because I feel like this episode was just one giant goodbye to everybody. This was everybody saying their final goodbyes without actually saying the words goodbye. This was everybody's last moments together. Everybody's last drink together. This was one final good moment we'll have with all of these characters. We may never see any of these characters alive again after the next episode. This is the last time they'll all be together before battle. Also, that moment between Bran and Jaime, I said in one of my other afterthought videos, I believe it was, that a certain chain of events had to occur to get us to this point where we are now. And it was all fate. And it was part of this whole story's destiny that Jaime pushed Bran out the window. Because if he would have never pushed Bran out the window, he would have never became the Three-Eyed Raven, and yada, yada, yada. Story goes on. And so it was very eerie when Bran was talking to Jaime, and he said to him, how do you know there will be an after? And I was like, what do you know, Bran? Tell us everything that you know. So is that like confirmation that Jaime is going to die? I mean, I already believe that Jaime is going to die. But I felt like that was like confirmation that Jaime's going to die. Like, how do you know there will be an after? There will be no after for you, Jaime. That's what I got from that. Also, the Theon and Sansa reunion was, there was a look of affection that Theon and Sansa shared that seems to go beyond friendship and beyond any type of sibling love or affection that they may have for each other. They had a moment there. It's too bad that this show is ending right now, because this Theon and Sansa ship is a ship that I didn't even realize that I wanted to board until now. There's definitely something more. And you know what? They would be perfect for each other because they both been through some traumatic experiences, some of which they experienced from the same person, Ramsay. And Sansa going through what she went through, being raped like that and tortured like that every fucking night, she probably does not ever want to be in another sexual relationship with a man. And Theon doesn't have anything down there anymore to sexually satisfy a woman in that way. So, they might just be perfect for each other to heal each other. But I think that Theon is going to die. He pretty much sealed his fate when he said that he was going to go protect Bran. I think he'll die protecting Bran. I already had him on my list of characters that were going to die this season. But now I think most definitely that it will happen when the Night King comes for Bran. Also, Arya and Gendry, they bonded for real. They bonded. There was some callbacks between Arya and Gendry, the stare. So, earlier in the episode, Arya was staring at Gendry while he was working, and that's a callback to a previous episode and moment that they had together when she was much younger, and he was working and he had his shirt off and she was staring at him. She was interested even back then. I think she always had a little crush on him. But anyway, so yeah, in this episode, she was staring at him while he was working. And then later on, when she's down in wherever she was, I think she was practicing with the bow and arrow. She was shooting arrows. We see the roles reversed, and we see Gendry standing behind her, staring at her. So I love that. I love that moment right there. And that shot of him actually, looking at her the way that she's always been looking at him. And of course, I thought about this just like so many other people have, that House Baratheon and House Stark have finally joined. They joined all right. Robert said, I have a son, you have a daughter, that they wanted to join their houses. And Arya is not a little girl anymore. I was rooting for her. She might die. Get you some, girl. I was rooting for her. Also, I'm interested in knowing what did Bran and Tyrion talk about. They were in that room together, and Tyrion pulled up a chair, and he started a conversation with Bran, and he wanted to hear all about his story, but we never got to hear what Bran might have told him. So I'm interested to find out if that's going to come back into play. What did they talk about? Is it important to the story? Is it just stuff that we already know about, that we've seen with Bran? I'm interested to know what was said during that conversation. We had another bonding moment with Ed, Jon, and Sam. That was great to see. It was another call back to when Jon was first at Night Watch and Sam was with him, and It was a nice little callback. That scene with them on top, the ledge thing there, I don't know what you call that, and they were looking out, and the camera kind of like rolls up behind them, and I think they said, "Our watch begins," or something like that. You know, the little night watch saying. It was interesting to see that. It was just, oh my God. I'm scared for everybody. All these moments didn't make me feel any more confident about who's gonna remain alive. We even have a little bonding moment between Sam and Jorah. Sam's giving him the sword, and I kind of feel like I'm gonna get to this later on in my thoughts, but I don't think the crypts are safe. I'm gonna dive more into that later on, and Gilly's gonna be down in the crypts, and Sam, you know, John was saying you can go down there with them if you want, but Sam is adamant about, you know, remaining up top with everybody else and trying to help any way that he can, and he doesn't have his sword anymore because he gave it to Jorah, and I just feel like something bad is going to happen to Gilly down in the crypts, and Sam is going to be having a lot of guilt because he wasn't down there to protect them. So I'm going to get back into my thoughts on that soon, but I don't want to jump around too much. But anyway, I wanted to talk about Dany and Sansa. For a moment there, I thought that Dany and Sansa was having a bonding moment / sisterly moment. And I guess they did sort of have a small moment there together. But I feel like Dany keeps trying to win Sansa over with pleasantries and entitlement. And Sansa just doesn't trust people, rightfully so, after what she's been through. It's going to take more than just telling her how beautiful she is and holding her hand to gain her trust. I feel like Sansa was like, okay, we laughed, we girl talked, we bonded, but now let's get back to business. What about the North? And I mean, that just goes to prove my point about how strong of a leader Sansa has really become and how much she's come into her own. You got to remember that Sansa was raised around and interacted with a lot of strong, powerful, intelligent women. And these women really played the game well, and she learned a lot from them. Marjorie, Olenna Tyrell, even her own mother, Catelyn Stark. And most importantly, Cersei. She was around Cersei for a considerable amount of time, and she really learned a lot from her. And she learned and gained strength from some of the most treacherous of men and some of the most honorable of men. She had Ned Stark as a father, so he instilled some wisdom into her. No matter how naive she was when she was younger, I'm pretty sure some of the things that he taught her as a child stuck with her. So, you know, she had Ned around. She had Jon as a role model. And she had Ramsay and Littlefinger. And even though the men who did her wrong and tortured her and were treacherous to her, she still was able to learn a great deal from them. She will not be easily swayed or convinced. She has a really good point. She's right. We fought to gain the North back, to get Winterfell back. And now you think you're just about to stroll in here and take it away from us? I don't think so. We just got our ancestral home back. We just got our home back. And you think you're just going to walk in here and take it from us? Bitch. No, she's not having it. They were so close to bonding, and then we see the hand drop. We see Dany remove her hand, and it's just like she's getting nowhere with Sansa. She's not easily swayed or convinced by Dany. I think Dany was able to witness firsthand the type of love and respect that the people in the North have for the Starks, and the type of connections that the people in the North have with one another. And I feel like we witnessed this when Theon comes into the room. That moment that Theon and Sansa shared in that room, right there in front of Dany, Dany was able to witness the power of the North. the bonds that they have with one another. It was solidified in that hug that Sansa gave Theon when she greeted him. He's like family, but it's kind of like an example of how the entire North feels as well, versus how they feel about Dany, a foreigner that they don't trust, that they had bad relationships with in the past. Dany was standing there like she was the third wheel. Dany needs to understand that it's not always about politics. The North and even some of her own allies, such as Theon, have a loyalty and a respect for the Starks in Winterfell and the North that Dany will never have. And it's proven in that moment. There's a love and a respect there that she might not ever be able to gain with the Northern people. And she sees it firsthand happening between Sansa and one of her own allies. Dany sees this unity. People respect Sansa. Even when Theon is speaking to Dany, he's looking at Sansa. He looked at Sansa first, and then he remembered his Dany was there, and he knelt down and showed her the respect that she, deserves as a queen. But he was strictly focused on Sansa during that entire scene. And I think Dany notices that, and she's kind of like standing off to the side, and she's looking at Sansa, and she's just, I think she's very jealous about the way that people are acknowledging Sansa more than they're acknowledging her. And Sansa is, of course, going to receive more affection and respect from the people of the North, because this is where she was raised. This is her home. They know her. They've known her since she was a child. It seems like Dany is becoming very jealous of Sansa. It's something that she hasn't gained yet with them. Like, you just showed up, woman. You have to prove something and earn that type of love and respect and affection. Sansa has proven to be very strong politically. Arya and the Hound also shared a moment. And I just want to apologize because in my last Afterthoughts video, I kept calling the Hound the Mountain. That was my mistake. I didn't mean to do that. Sometimes I get their names mixed up. They're both big, burly men. It happens. But I did apologize for that down in the comment section of that video. So I just wanted to come back and just say, I just got the names mixed up. That's all. But Arya and the Hound had a moment in this episode, a bonding moment. And I just love their little banter back and forth with one another, because they act like they fucking hate each other, but deep down, I think they care for one another. I think she grew to love the Hound in her own weird way, and he grew to love her in his own weird way. But neither one of them can ever admit it because they're both stubborn. They found a friendship in one another that was very unlikely. It's like everybody's coming full circle. Also, we finally see Ghost in this episode. He was just chilling there in the background, which was fucking excellent to finally see, because I've been wondering where the hell is Ghost. So it was great to see him back. I think I got him in my death predictions video. I can't remember if I said he lives or dies, but take a look at that video if you want to hear more about that. After watching last night's episode, there's going to be an edited clip on the end of my death predictions video, because some of my death predictions have changed, and you're going to hear a little bit more about that coming up pretty soon in this discussion. But yeah, it was nice to see Ghost. And I like the little Shireen callback. The little girl that comes up to Davos to get some food. She has a scar on one side of her face similar to Shireen. And of course, Gilly is in that scene as well. And we all know that Shireen had a connection to both Gilly and Davos. So that was a nice little callback to Princess Shireen. Here's the big thing. I don't think that the crypts are going to be safe. I don't think the crypts are going to be a safe haven. I think that the show is about to throw us for a huge loop. They got us thinking, the audience, they have us thinking right now about all the obvious characters, all the obvious fighter type characters that may die in battle. We're worried about all of them, the Hound, Jon, Jorah, Tormund, and then bam, they hit us with the death of all the least expected characters. All the women and children and the non-fighters, the non-fighting type of characters that are hiding down in the crypts, which means Sansa, Tyrion. Daenerys is adamant about Tyrion going down into the crypts. Now, when this episode ends, we see Tyrion still on the ledge looking out into the horizon. I don't know if he's actually going to go down into the crypts, but if he listens to Daenerys and actually goes down into the crypts, and if what I'm saying I think is gonna happen actually happens, that means Sansa, she's not a fighter, so she'll probably most likely be down in the crypts. Tyrion, if he listens to Daenerys, he'll be down in the crypts. Gilly, Baby Sam, possibly Missandei. All these unexpected characters that we don't think are going to die. We think that they're just going to be okay. Because we're so worried about Jon and Jorah and Tormund, the ones who are going to be on the front lines fighting the battles. We're not even thinking about the least expected characters that might die. I think a lot of people down in the crypts are going to die. We see Varys hiding down in the crypts during one of the trailers. And I'm for pretty damn certain Varys is going to die this season. And his death has been foreshadowed too many times. And I think the crypts is where he will meet his fate, along with a lot of other characters we least expect. And this is why I said that I think Sam is going to feel some type of guilt. He's dead set on staying above ground while Gilly and Baby Sam, are hiding underground in the crypts. Sam wants to stay up top and help any way that he can. And I think he's going to be feeling some guilt. Because, first of all, he's given away his sword. If he would have kept his sword and went down into the crypts like he should have, he would have possibly been there to defend Gilly and Baby Sam. Now, he's not the fighting type, but he may have provided the opportunity for some people to get away. And that's a Valyrian's I think that's Valyrian Steel sword that he gave Jorah. And that's something that can defeat the Whites and the White Walkers. And he's giving it away. And it's like, I think he's going to be feeling a whole lot of guilt if Gilly and Baby Sam dies. And I think that the people who die down in the crypt are going to get resurrected. I think he's going to resurrect them and add them to his army of the dead. I think it would be a tactical move for the Night King to resurrect the dead within Winterfell, while all the soldiers and whatnot are fighting on the front lines, trying to keep the threat out, trying to keep the Night King and the White Walkers out. The Night King would have already infiltrated Winterfell via the dead in the crypts. And then suddenly it becomes an ambush. They'd have the dead at both their front door, so to speak, and their back door. While they're trying to keep the dead out, Jon and everyone else who's fighting, they're not even going to realize that he's already found a way to ambush them by rising the dead within their own walls. I think that would be so tactical of him to do. And there's another reason why I think that the crypts are going to be compromised. In one of the trailers, we see that feather, and it's like floating through the crypts, and there's ice forming throughout the crypts. And we see those three statues, one of Sansa, one of Arya, and one of whom we believe is Jon. That his statue looked much older than the Jon that we see in the show now. But I think that teaser with the feather and the ice and the crypts and the statue, the young statues of both Arya and Sansa, is further leading me to believe that Sansa is going to be down in those crypts when the Night King breaches the crypts, and she is going to be one of their victims. I think Arya will die later on, but I think Sansa might die down in the crypts. I think she's going to be down there thinking it's safe, and the crypts will be compromised, and she is going to be one of the victims. And I think a lot of the people that die down in the crypts are going to be resurrected by the Night King and come back to life. And I think that's who Arya is running from in the trailer. I think either Gendry tries to convince her to go down into the crypts to be safe, or she ends up finding out or suspecting something is wrong down there, and she goes down there to try and help her sister because she knows Sansa is hiding down there. I think that either Gendry will try to convince her to stay down in the crypts because you'll be safe down here, and she's going to listen and stay down there, which I don't think Arya will. And then the Night King comes in and resurrects the dead, and she's running. She's one of the few that makes it out alive, and she's running from some of the undead. Or she suspects something is wrong, or she discovers that the crypts might be in danger, and she runs down there to try and save people, especially her sister. But I think that she'll be too late, and I think she will try to fight against the dead down there, but she won't be enough to defeat them, and that's why she's running away. We noticed in the trailer she looks like she's been in a scuffle. She's bleeding, and she looks terrified, so she could be running from some undead relatives, maybe even an undead Sansa. Oh my God, I don't want to see Sansa die like that. I'm tearing up right now just thinking about it. But I think that could be one possibility, and that would probably be why she's so frantically running out of there, so terrified looking. As much as I don't want to see Sansa go, that teaser that they showed us with a statue, a young-looking statue of Sansa down in the crypts, terrifies me to my soul. And the fact that they kept mentioning the crypts in last night's episode, I'll be down in the crypts. The crypts are going to be safe. They just kept mentioning the crypts and how safe it was going to be. And first of all, goddammit, I just have to say this. Why would they think that a safe place for them to hide from someone who can resurrect the dead would be in a place where dead people are? He can resurrect the dead. We all know that he can do it without having to touch them. We've seen him make all those dead people rise at Hardhome just from raising his arms. He doesn't even have to physically touch them to resurrect them. So he might perform the same type of act down in the crypts when he compromises the crypts. He might perform the same type of act and make all of those dead people rise at one time. I'm so nervous and so scared. And the fact that I saw Sansa's statue in that teaser, she was one of the ones that I had on my death prediction list as a survivor. But now that I'm thinking back on it and putting all the pieces together, it seems like all the people who can't fight are going to be down in the crypts. And she's very important to Winterfell and to the north. She's the Lady of Winterfell. So they're going to want to keep her protected, keep her safe. And I think as a way to keep her safe, they're going to stick her down in the fucking crypts. And I think Sansa's going to die down in the fucking crypts, y'all. I wish that they weren't hiding down in the crypts where dead people are, because the Night King can resurrect the dead. But maybe that's the only place that they have that they think is safe. That's the only place they have to hide. Winterfell doesn't seem like it's a huge place in the first place. So maybe this is the only safe haven that they believe that they have. Maybe they should have tried to march some people out. Or maybe they didn't want to take the risk of them stumbling across the dead out there. It's a lot of people are going to die. And I think they're going to throw us for a loop and hit us with all the least expected characters. Now that I'm thinking about it. I mean, we're going to be so focused on Grey Worm and Jon and Jorah and all those people out there in the front lines, in the field, fighting the dead, that we're not even going to be thinking about the people that's hiding out. And the fact that we saw Varys in the trailer, hiding down in the crypts, and his death has been foreshadowed so many times, I think he will meet his fate down in the crypts. And that feather in the teaser with the ice flowing through the crypts, something bad is going to happen in those crypts. I'm calling it. Something terrible is going to happen down in the crypts, and I think a lot of people are going to die down there. I hope Davos is not down there, because he's not really a fighting type of man either. I don't know if he's going to stay on top and try to help. He said he was going to be on the lookout, though, so he's not going to be on the crypt. in the crypts. Because when they was all standing around the table trying to devise a strategy, I remember hearing him say something about lookout or something. So I don't think he's going to be hiding down there. Oh, I hope Sansa's not down in the crypts. God, I hope she's not down there. I hope something changes and she doesn't have to go down there. I hope Tyrion's not down there. They're about to throw us for a loop. They about to hit us with something that we least expect. You watch. Another reason why I think Tyrion might die down in the crypts, he kind of foreshadowed his own death when he said, I'm trying to get the words right. Something about if he dies and turns into a white, Cersei not having the satisfaction of killing him herself, and that maybe he'll march down to King's Landing and rip her apart. Something along those lines. I don't know the exact words, but it was something along those lines. The fact that he might be down in those crypts when shit hits the fan down there, he might actually get his wish. That's not his wish. I know he's not wishing to die and turn into a White Walker and rip his sister apart. It was kind of like, he said in like a joking type of manner, but it might actually come true. He might actually turn into a fucking white. Now, he might not make it down to King's Landing to rip Cersei apart, although I would love to see that, because I think the next place that, well, we know the Night King is making his way through certain areas. We see on the opening credits that we see the wall. He's already broken through the wall. And then we see the next place that he came across. And then we see Winterfell. So in the opening credits, they're showing us the path that the Night King is taking to all these different kingdoms and whatnot to destroy them. And eventually he's going to make it to King's Landing. So if Tyrion does die and become a White Walker and becomes part of the Night King's undead army, he might actually make it to King's Landing and he might actually rip Cersei apart. Wouldn't that be something? That would be fucking crazy, yo. I cannot picture a little Tyrion walking around. A little White Walker Tyrion walking around. I cannot picture it. But it's a huge possibility. I never in a million years would have thought that Tyrion would die. I have him down on my death prediction list as someone who survives. And after watching last night's episode, I think I'm going to have to change that. If I see him go down into the crypts, he's a goner. He's a goner for sure. In this episode, we also find out the Night King's motives. How he just wants it to be a long night. Just nothing but death. How he wants to erase all memory of mankind and people, and how and why he's so dead set on getting to Bran. He knows that Bran holds all the memories of the world, and if he succeeds in what he's trying to do and he brings forth the long night, he can't have someone like Bran around who can remind anyone of the way things used to be. He can't have that. Also, I started thinking, because Bran said he always knows where I am. You know, he gave him the mark and he always knows where Bran is. It got me thinking that Bran may unknowingly be a spy vessel for the Night King. So, like, can he see where... So he always knows where Bran is because he marked him. But can he see what Bran sees? Can he hear what Bran hears? I want to know how that whole thing works. Because if so, he could be listening to their whole plan. Bran is sitting in the strategy room with everyone around the table. And Bran is there listening to their fighting techniques and the techniques that they're going to use and the strategies they're going to use to try to defeat the Night King and the dead. If the Night King always knows where Bran is, could Bran unknowingly be a fucking spy vessel for the Night King? Could the Night King be listening in and seeing everything that Bran is seeing and hearing? It's crazy to think about, but it's a possibility. It is. And some people believe that, I've heard all type of theories. But was there something that said you'll never walk again, but you will fly. Will Bran warg into the Night King? He's going to be out. I think he's going to be out by that tree. Theon's going to be there to protect him. I think they're going to leave one of the dragons behind to protect him as well. Because Jon said if the dragons are in the field, they're not protecting Bran. So I think they'll leave at least one dragon behind with Bran when they leave Bran out there like bait. And, Theon and some of the Iron Fleet or whatever will be there as well. But they're gonna be no match for the Night King and whoever he brings with him when he tries to retrieve Bran or kill Bran. But what if Bran wargs into the Night King at that moment? Like when the Night King comes to kill Bran again. What if he wargs into him and he gets on Viserion? What if he wargs into the fucking Night King and he gets on Viserion, flies off with Viserion? Maybe he is going to try and control Viserion, get Viserion to burn some of the dead. But the people out there that's fighting, the Starks and all our other people who are fighting on the side of the living, they don't realize that that's Bran inside the Night King, and someone kills the Night King. If Bran wargs into the Night King and the Night King dies while Bran is still warged into his body, will that kill Bran as well? I'm just thinking about all kind of possibilities because, like I said before, the story can go so many different ways. I've been wondering if whoever kills the Night King becomes the Night King. So what if Jon succeeds in killing the Night King, but he doesn't realize that whoever kills the Night King becomes the next Night King? What if it's something like that? I'm just thinking about all kind of crazy possibilities because you just don't know. You just never know with this show. Some people read the books and there's some things, some hardcore fans that remember everything from every freaking season. I don't know if this speculation is even possible, but I'm just thinking like, what if whoever kills the Night King, once they kill him, they automatically become the Night King, and they don't even fucking realize that that's going to happen. So what if Jon goes to fucking kill the Night King, and the magic that made him become the Night King starts to, take its course in Jon's body, and maybe Melisandre is there, and she knows magic, and she stops the magic from taking its full effect in Jon's body, like they did with Uncle Benjen. Uncle Benjen had died, and he was going to be resurrected and become part of the undead army, but somebody stopped the magic from taking its full course. What if something similar happens to Jon? What if he kills the Night King, the magic starts to take him over, but Melisandre or somebody else who has some powers, what happened to that other red priestess that we saw that visited Varys? We never saw her again. I'm just thinking about all kind of stuff. What if somebody stops the magic from taking its full course, though? And Jon is just living as an undead Jon, but he still, was able to stop it in time, and he still was able to keep himself, maintain his personality. He didn't become part of the undead army. What if something crazy like that happens? What if we have an undead Jon ruling the Seven Kingdoms, like we had Benjen? Benjen looked dead. What if we have an undead Jon ruling the Seven Kingdoms? Now, this is all speculation, but I'm just thinking it would be interesting. I know it's a long shot. It's very far-fetched, but that would be crazy if something like that happened. So that's just a little speculation I wanted to just throw in there. Argue with me in the comment sections. I have said this before, and I got argued down in the comment sections of somebody's video because somebody made a comment about the sigil. Somebody made a comment about the symbol or sigil that the Night King keeps leaving behind, this message that he keeps leaving behind. And I had mentioned how it looks similar to the Targaryen sigil. And I was wondering if maybe the Night King was a Targaryen. And then somebody gave me the whole history about it, how the White Walkers were around thousands of years or hundreds of years or whatever before there were ever Targaryens or Starks or whatever. But they did think that all of them had perished. They thought that all of the White Walkers were long gone, and now they're back. So what if this is a new set of White Walkers, not the same ones from hundreds of years ago? And I was just thinking, like, what if, wouldn't it be something if the Night King is a Targaryen and he's the fucking heir to the throne? Like, he's above Dany and Jon, and he's the heir to the throne. He's the ruler, true ruler of the Seven Kingdoms. Wouldn't that be some shit? I don't think that's true, but it would be crazy. But also, a lot of the, I don't know if you call them lieutenants or whatever, but a lot of the top people who are ride right next to the Night King, they all have long hair that looks blonde. Now, I can't really tell because they are dead, but their hair looks long and blonde, like it could have been long blonde hair. And who do we know that has long platinum blonde hair? Targaryens. And we see a whole line of them at the end of episode 2 as they're facing Winterfell. We see a whole line of those type of men on dead horses with that long hair. You know, I'm just thinking, speculating. But maybe that's why they're so vulnerable to dragon fire and dragon glass. Because, you know, they're Targaryens, but they're undead Targaryens. So, you know, Targaryens like Daenerys, they can't be burnt. That kind of stuff don't hurt them. But maybe once they become dead, they become vulnerable to the things that once made them powerful. Just saying, the dragon glass, the dragon fire, that's the way that you can kill them. They are certainly vulnerable to it. And if the Night King is a Targaryen, that will certainly explain why he's able to ride a dragon. I mean, I haven't read the books yet. And like I said, I don't remember everything from every episode, certain details. So I'm not sure if someone other than a Targaryen could ride a dragon. They make us believe that it's just a Targaryen type of thing. But maybe someone other than a Targaryen would be able to ride a dragon. I'm not sure. But if not, him being a Targaryen will explain why he's able to ride a dragon. Just saying. Also, the Night King and the dragon weren't revealed at the end of the episode, which I don't think that really means that he's not there. I've heard some people saying, you know, we didn't see the Night King in that lineup of the dead. So could he possibly not even be there? Maybe he took Viserion and flew off somewhere else, possibly King's Landing. Maybe he's going to be, maybe that's the dragon that destroys King's Landing. Maybe it's not Dany and her 2 dragons that she have still alive. Maybe it wasn't Dany that is going to burn King's Landing. Maybe it's the Night King. Maybe he's flying off to fucking King's Landing to deal with that while his troops and whatnot deal with the people in Winterfell. I'm just saying, we see the dragon flying over King's Landing in one of Bran's visions. Maybe it's not Dany's dragon because, you know, Viserion, maybe it's her undead dragon that's flying over King's Landing. And maybe it's the Night King riding that dragon, burning fucking King's Landing down to the ground. Could be a possibility. I'm running out of time, so I'm going to try and wrap up these quick little moments that I want to talk about. Could Arya possibly be pregnant? Don't know. I'm scared because, like I said before, we saw her statue in the crypt in teaser, and it was a young version of her statue. It looked just like she looked now, at the age she is now. So I do think that Arya is going to die, but she could still be pregnant, even if she does die. But if she is pregnant, we won't get to see that go anywhere if she dies in battle. But could she possibly be pregnant? I just wanted to just throw that in there. Just a thought. Just thoughts. That was certainly, her pregnancy was certainly complete. the joining of the houses between the Baratheons and the Starks. All right. The conversations that kept getting interrupted. I think the reason we see Jon and Dany's conversation right there at the end get interrupted after he tells her about Rhaegar and his mother Lyanna. And we see Dany and Sansa's conversation gets interrupted. And the reason why I think these conversations keep getting interrupted is because we're not going to have any resolutions. It's kind of like symbolism for the no resolution that we're going to get at the end of this series. I feel like the only resolution will be death. Any issues or conflicts that anyone had with one another is going to all end in death. And one or the other who were involved in any type of conflict will die, and the conflict will die with them. And that's why I think these conversations, every time a conflict comes up and someone tries to have a conversation about it, I think that's why they keep getting interrupted, because there's going to be no resolution in the end. Death will be the only resolution. And just really quickly, I wanted to talk about how I didn't like the way Dany reacted to the news about Rhaegar and Lyanna, and how he may possibly be the heir to the Iron Throne. I feel like Dany is feeling threatened about her position, and she needs to realize that Jon doesn't want the throne. He probably wouldn't even tell people because he doesn't want to rule over the Seven Kingdoms. He didn't want to be the Lord Commander. He didn't want to be the king in the north. He damn sure doesn't want to rule over the Seven Kingdoms. All he wants to do is try and keep people safe. He wants to defeat the dead so that everybody can fucking live. And it's like she can never grasp the bigger picture here. He's not conspiring against you. I feel like she thought that he was sitting on that information. He just found out himself. He wasn't sitting on that information and trying to lure you into some trap. He doesn't want it. She just got finished talking to Sansa and saying, I love Jon. I'm here because of Jon. I put all my issues to the side to come and fight some war for him. I love him. And then, boom, just like that, she's questioning his motives. I did not like the way she responded to that. And some people are criticizing Jon because he may have picked the wrong moment to tell her. But what other moment do we have? We know that the dead are marching here. We know they're going to be here before the sun rises in the morning. There is no more time to talk about anything else. Now is the time to discuss everything. There is no other opportunity to talk about it. She had that malice in her voice and that look on her face that she has when she's getting ready to act irrational and irresponsible and she's getting ready to get pissed. And I fear for Jon now because she's been dead set on ruling the Seven Kingdoms, on sitting on that Iron Throne, and nothing and no one is going to stand in the way of Daenerys being on that throne. With all of the other shit going on, and after everything he said to her, the one thing that she thought about, the first thing that she thought about was the fucking throne. All affection for Jon has gone out the window. If you love him like you say you do, you should know him well enough. He has never lied to you since you first met him. He's been loyal to you. I feel like her thirst for the throne, for that power, is going to be her undoing. I don't have a lot of time, so I'm just going to wrap that up. But I fear for Jon. I think she may try to hurt Jon and get him out of the picture. Or he's going to have to present her with some proof before she'll believe that what he told her. Like, you can't just say that to Daenerys. You're going to have to provide her with proof. Otherwise, she's going to be sitting on that throne. I think he would just hand it to her anyway. He doesn't want to be on the throne. But she's going to be so threatened by him that she may try to harm him to get him out of the way so that he won't be around to sit on the throne. So that she'll rule. I think she'll become overcome with power and madness and that will be her undoing. I 100% think Danny is going to die. Leave me your thoughts and your opinions down below. Hit the bell for notifications, like, subscribe. I gotta go. I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.